we've got who we have from the shadow. Yeah, but I mean, obviously, it's been a minute. No need to rehash all that shit. But we are just going to, like, quickly, I guess, just talk through a few things and then also just make our way through the. We're gonna speak up to a point in the story where everyone's gonna be able to. The Shadow's gonna be able to do anthology shit like the Wrath is currently doing. Just because scheduling's a bitch. We can all agree. So, I guess, because right now we got Christian, we got Pedro. I guess, just for record-keeping sake, we're going to try going through this quick. So just out-of-game stuff. A few, like, a correction, actually, or two corrections I actually had to make. With this fucking banging music. Before, I kind of did an oopsie when talking about Dragon Shard stuff. The Crimson Crystal, it's everything about it is still the same. It's just actually called an Eberron Crystal, because red Dragon Shards are called Eberron Crystals. So that's just a small mistake I made a while ago. And then the Dragon Shard that Ardun Viltharos is in, like the one Flesh Mage, is actually a dark blue Dragon Shard, because Kyber crystals are dark blue ones.
Okay.
Yeah, and so the main thing is Kyber crystals are the ones that can hold souls, so that's why it's weird that the Crimson Crystal is an Eberron Crystal, because Eberron crystals aren't what bind people, it's Kyber shards. So, I mean, it just goes to speak with how powerful the magic of the Crimson Crystal is.
Because it isn't supposed to be able to hold a soul.
But it's holding the soul of, like, an immortal being. So yeah, it goes to show why Abalaba almost died when he tried identifying it. It's a bit wacky of an item. So then there's that condition die stuff I explained. So just to rehash it for the other guys if they watch this real quick. Instead of advantage, disadvantage, you have what's called a condition die, which just starts off as 0, and incremented it gets bigger, decremented it gets smaller. And so anything that's a source of advantage now increments your die, and anything that's a source of disadvantage decrements it. So if you have like 3 sources of advantage, it goes d4, d6, d8, and then let's say you had 2 sources of disadvantage, then it would go down d6, d4, and then on whatever the roll was, you just add a d4. It's a simpler, cleaner system that just allows different sources of advantage and disadvantage to stack. And from there, I guess we're gonna just move into like where we were chronologically in the story. So there was, you guys had returned from the Eldeen Reaches back to like the Vanguard HQ and Flamekeep. You attended a bunch of like tournament fights, everything as like the second generation of the Vanguard was being introduced. You guys watched a bunch of the tournaments. You guys kind of became buddy-buddy with the Vanguard's Pride, led by Viscera, who's that red tiefling you guys used to beef with, but now are chill with. And apparently the Wrath still beefs with, but that's fine. You guys attended like the big final tournament fight, where you guys were attacked by the Lords of Shadow, or the Lords of Dust, who are the essentially the ancient minions of the overlords, still trying to bring them back. And so Mordekash, the one Prakutu or speaker of the Rage of War, that overlord, was there, and then this other very powerful Rakshasa, who you'd assume is probably also some very high powered Rakshasa, or even Prakutu herself, called Hectula, attacked you guys, calling herself, I believe it was, here, I'm just gonna get this, because it's been a while. Her name was Hectula the Bloody Scribe. And you guys, the town was attacked. You guys chase after Hectula towards the Vanguard HQ as she trapped like a bunch of the Vanguard people in the big Coliseum. And behind you guys, Mordekash was also running to the HQ, followed by the Wrath. You guys decided to name your... They weren't called the Wrath at the time. Later on, like chronologically, they ended up with the name Wrath. But you guys chose Shadow pretty quickly. It took them like 3-4 sessions to pick a name. You guys chased Hectula... Oh, you guys chased Hectula up to the HQ's like entrance, and that's where we ended our last session. So from here, we're just gonna like talk through what would have happened. So I assume you guys would have followed Hectula into the HQ, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and so essentially, and you guys can interject at any point to say anything you would have wanted to do. And we'll just talk through it. There won't be any rolls or anything.
Okay.
You guys would have chased her in, and she would have just been tearing her way through the HQ, just destroying people with her crazy... She seems to be a crazy powerful magic user. And she's just blasting her way through until eventually she goes to like a courtyard where you guys go in. Once you walked in, it was pretty much just like a little courtyard with some trees, like a park bench, whatever. And she essentially said, you guys seeing how powerful she was, almost would have been... I mean, it would have been a big fight. I'm sure you guys would have been down to tussle with her. But before you guys are able to like start any kind of battle, out from like around the courtyard, she would have shown all of you guys. There would have been 4 people, hostages of hers. She would have shown you a young mid, like maybe 20s, what's it called, Gnome, who you noticed, Abalaba, you recognize as your sister Venla, who got lost in the Eldine Reaches. El Simpiníto would have you guys all would have seen maybe mid-40s, mid-50s, older, what looked to be human lady, darker skin, looked to be El Simpiníto's mother. You guys see a young, like, tween, maybe 12, 13-year-old boy, looking very similar to Thelgun with his mask off. And Thelgun seems to not necessarily recognize him, but he's familiar to him. And the kid yells out towards Thelgun as just his brother. And Dave, you would have seen Reggie.
Reggie?
Yes.
Reggie?
Reginald. Yes.
No way.
And this person would pretty much just have hostages. And I did type out this little paragraph, so I'll just read through this quick. But Hectula would have essentially said to you, like, do you understand how difficult it is to kill a fiend? Even if you did manage to fell me, I'd just turn to dust, reform, and come at you again with more knowledge. Now, while my compatriot Mordekash is currently roughing up your friends, I'd prefer a lighter touch than the oath. How I see it, here are your options. You could flail about for the last moments of your lives, getting yourselves killed and your loved ones killed as well. Not to mention anyone else who would happen to run through this door to help you. Then I would still accomplish my mission. Or you could allow me to bring you closer to your loved ones, remove only you lot from the equation, and then be on my merry way. You see, you are all a bit too known. If I were to kill all of you, then you would become the Vanguard's martyrs. I'd rather make you all go away quieter. Leave enough doubt for people to not rally behind your names. Of course, me and mine have already killed plenty today, but those were all nobodies. So far, everyone who has died today will fade from memory like you shall. You can't beat me. So how about we make this simpler for all of us? And they would have just sort of motioned towards you guys to just essentially surrender. And what would you guys have done? What do you think you guys would have done? Because at this point, they have your 4 relatives lined up, and you've seen the spells they can cast. They actually, like, in the courtyard, you wouldn't have seen them. They would have just been saying this. and you would have seen your like relatives, the hostages,
just like in the
pulled
middle.
out. Like, yeah, they would have not been there, and then you would have seen like magic pull them from the corners of the room into the center. You assume they're invisible somewhere. Hectula's invisible somewhere in the courtyard. You're not sure where, and she's just saying this to you guys.
Ooh, I would like tell the party, guys, we kill them another day. I say we take the hostages alive.
Yeah. So would you guys have fought? Well, yeah. So Dave, would you have fought?
No.
What about you, Abalaba?
Yeah, definitely not. I'm not risking it.
All right, and so yeah, they would have essentially had you guys, and through, as soon as you guys would have sort of faltered for a second, you guys would have just been magically held and paralyzed, and slowly, one by one, you would have seen, like, Hectula would have reappeared in front of you guys, and through some sort of ritual, she would have pulled out a dagger, and one by one, going towards each of you, would have raked the dagger across like your forehead horizontally to get a little bit of blood. And through some sort of magic, Dave, it happens to you first. Oh, what's up?
Oh, Diego's here.
Diego.
Yeah.
Oh, gentlemen, I greatly apologize. I think it happened. My phone died.
Oh, it's all good.
Literally, my alarm didn't go off, bro. So yeah, my bad on that one. Yeah.
What up?
It's all good.
It's great seeing you guys again.
Oh, well, I mean, since you're here, Diego, because what we were thinking was we were just gonna... We were thinking we might just sort of walk through what would have happened. Because, I mean, I talked about the anthology thing with you. We might just walk through what would have happened and then get up to the point where you guys could catch back up with anthology stuff.
Gotcha. Yeah, I mean, that's cool.
Yeah, so essentially, you guys were running into the HQ. And, you chased the one Rakshasa called Hectula back to a courtyard. And she would have been invisible. And the gist of what she would have said to you guys, she would have been invisible in the room. And you would have seen, like, magic pull 4 people into the center of the room. And you would have seen Abalaba's younger sister, Venla. You would have seen Reginald, Bushingham. Thelgun would have seen like a tween. You guys would have seen like a tween version of Thelgun. Seemed like his little brother. And then El Simpiníto, you would have seen your mom, much aged up. And essentially, the voice would have said, like the gist of what they were saying was just, "You've seen my crazy magic. If you kill me, I'll just turn to dust and come back with more knowledge and just kill you. So how about you guys surrender, and then I won't kill your family members. But if you don't surrender, I'll kill you, I'll kill your family members, and then I'll kill anybody else who walks in here trying to save you guys. And I'll still win." Yeah. And so, after like all of that, so far it seems like half the group is surrendering. What would you have done?
I mean, at that point, there's kind of no other choice but to surrender to. I mean, if everyone else is, it's like...
Alright.
Yeah.
And so yeah, they would have essentially lined you guys up even, face to face with your pairs. And then, like, magically paralyze you guys. And Hectula, like, now becomes visible in front of you guys. And just Dave, it happens to you first. You see, she goes over to Thelgun first and pulls off his mask. And see, your relatives are like unconscious. And you see, she would have pulled off Thelgun's mask and then with the dagger run it across his forehead horizontally, then taken some of his blood in her hand, and then the handful of Thelgun's blood, put it over his younger brother's face. What you guys would have seen is essentially like a blood tether go from Thelgun's wound on his forehead straight to his brother's forehead, and it would have been like tied together, and they would have done that to each of you guys once, and then after doing that, like while it's happening to each of you, you almost feel like you are your pair at the same time. You see everything they see, you feel everything they feel, you think everything they think. Like you're perceiving from both places. You almost feel like you just become tied, like one with them. And then, like the little bond breaks. And they like your other pairs just slump over, and Hectula would have pretty much said, "Well, typically I lie, but I'll keep my word just this time." And she sort of winks over to you guys. As you see, she like magically just pushes back your family members up against a wall, one of the walls, and line you guys up like around a well in the center of the room. And you see, like with chalk, magically she's like making a big magical circle around you guys, until eventually the runes like finish building, and she says, "You know, you won't die immediately, but you will definitely disappear." And the magic circle sort of goes off, and then all of you immediately would have just felt like your stomachs fall. Excuse me. And it would have just been like almost like you guys feel like you're at the top of a roller coaster immediately. And like looking down around you guys, all you see is blue below you, and it seems almost earlier in the day. And you feel your muscles start to be able to like move again. But all you guys see around you is ocean, and you're like 30 feet up in the air.
Bro.
Oh my god.
That's
And you look,
kind of unfortunate.
and based on where the sun is, you can tell you guys moved a couple time zones at least. And all you see is ocean. There's nothing
Time
but ocean.
zones?
Yes.
Wow.
Literally time travel, bro.
Yeah. And so it's brighter out in the day, and you guys fall 30 feet. And yeah, here's where I would have had some kind of, this would have been cool. This is one of the things I'm most bummed out about losing, but it's fine. I'd like to play with you guys. At this point I would have set a timer and been like, based on all of your constitution modifiers, at a certain point, like in the timer, you're gonna start sinking, like you're gonna be too tired to keep swimming. So you guys had to figure out a way to not drown in the middle of the ocean. But it is entirely possible. You guys have the stuff to do it. It would have just been, you'd have had to be really smart. But for the sake of just getting this through and not killing you guys unceremoniously during a fast forward montage, through a clever use of Wall of Force, Polymorph, and just a bunch of your spells, you guys could have just barely managed to keep yourselves above water long enough to receive, or like long enough to keep yourselves alive and get to a point where you can just like travel horizontally enough over days to find like land. And I assume at some point, Abalaba, would you have cast like sending and try to get help?
Yeah.
Who would you have tried messaging?
I guess who I would have tried to get help from is
Because I will say, just for the sake of not making it take forever, like, I mean, you know, after the fight, you don't know if any of the Wrath are alive. You could have messaged, like, Auric or anyone in the Vanguard, or even, you guys know you have a ship.
Oh, true.
So you guys could have messaged them.
Probably from the ship then, no?
Yeah, I mean, you have plenty of spell slots. But you message a bunch of people. And it just so happens that, to make this quicker, this wouldn't have been a thing otherwise. You guys would have had a whole other thing. But the ship just so happens to be pretty close within a couple days. You guys managed to keep yourselves alive for what ends up being actually like a week and a half.
Goddamn.
Until the ship... Yeah, you guys are like starving. It's terrible. You guys are like having to just live out at sea without land.
At least they aren't stuck in a box.
Yeah, that's a whole different story. The other group getting into Athedon, since Bramgrim hadn't recovered his sword and actually became more cursed, they locked them in...
Oh, shit.
They pretty much locked them in a stone box with no food or water or any contact for 2 weeks.
Loki, I thought it was vibing though.
And so, Ethel and Sonder, who was Oliver's character, just survived since Ethel has the pigments to draw furniture and then could make good berries for food. But then, the other group, they had the alchemy jug. They only survived because of the alchemy jug, Dave.
Oh, God.
They sustained themselves off of nothing but mayonnaise and honey for 2 weeks.
That's all you need,
bro.
Until it literally
Mayonnaise is the lifesaver.
they were shitting on the
This is
floor.
really-
Genuinely, we were looking it up, like, after a certain number of days of eating only mayonnaise, like, you have no fiber, so you're just shitting out water. It was terrible.
Oh,
God.
shit, dude.
Yeah.
Shitting
So-
on mayonnaise.
Yeah. But,
Oh, man.
so, you guys have an equally terrible time of having to survive by yourselves. And so, the boat would have picked you up. The whole ship would be pretty much telling you guys how, you know, they've been going around doing jobs. They mentioned how, for branding reasons, they had to stop talking about Captain Goldilocks and how it was now the Gilded Drake.
Lame.
And yeah, and they agree. They still say Goldilocks. It's just for public appearances they say the Gilded Drake.
Yeah.
And they mention how the Vanguard's wrath that they seem to have named themselves, your other half. They told the boat people to send all of their profits money to a bank account for them.
Don't tell them that.
They would have mentioned it to you guys. So it seems like the other half of the group is trying to take your money from the ship. And I assume you guys resolved that to split it once more.
Sure.
And from there, they pretty much explained to you guys, you had been teleported out, thousands of miles away into pretty much the middle of the ocean. And they say, like, you're lucky because this is Kraken water, right?
Oh, shit.
And so, eventually, through messaging the Vanguard and everything, they pretty much tell you the other half of the Vanguard's revelry is going to be in Kubara. Like, they're going... you're surprised because you guys never told them about Athedon. But they directly say, like, we sent them to go to Athedon. So if you guys would like, you can go meet up there. And so, you guys spend the next couple weeks, and just about a month traveling there. Because, yeah, chronologically, since we're doing anthology stuff, time passes by way faster for them. So the other group is like a month ahead chronologically. So you guys, after a while, get to Kubara. I will say, you notice a lot more. You guys are attacked a couple times by the fish people. They seem to have remembered you guys, and they strangely seem way more active.
Yeah.
The storyline I would have dealt with them, which I would have tied that up, but we'll get to that later. And essentially, you guys make it back to Kibaro. You travel back to Athedon, where you guys end up getting captured at the front gates.
Oh boy.
Because it's essentially Wakanda. You guys walk until you walk, until out of nowhere you're captured by nets, and essentially they bring you in, and through what seems to be, like, you hear them talk about how the other Vanguard group is there, and they essentially say to you how, like, you guys, like, outsiders are super not welcome in Athedon, but because the other half of the group is there and they're dealing with Bramgrim's curse and everything, you guys are being allowed in. And so they essentially let you in, and they, yeah, you guys go in, and so now chronologically you're caught up with the other group.
Let's go.
And so from here, essentially, there are a handful of adventures, like hooks kind of just floating out there, but you guys could join up on any of those. Now that you're in Athedon. So right now, I mean, you hear that just in Athedon there's a lot of, there's been attacks happening around recently. You guys, even while traveling to Athedon, get chased by some big creature, seemingly like a werewolf or something like that. Until you're captured, and then you come in and they talk to you guys about it. And so one of the little anthology stories we've got going is the big, like, is dealing with these attacks that's going on. Then so right now Ethel and Sandra are going to deal with that, which is Eliza and Oliver's characters.
Oh, yeah,
you said
yeah,
you were going to deal with that.
I keep forgetting.
Yeah, and then Raoul's off doing his own thing to the North Pole, but I'm sure you guys, if you talked with Juan, could resolve that. And then there's also Bramgrim that's doing his own thing, but he's doing that by himself completely.
Ethel has her own
So
adventure, but she's
I'm probably
doing
going to make a
hers.
little group chat. I put in the announcements, like, a hook about that, like the attacks thing. If you guys are interested in any of the plot hooks or on doing anything, I mean, just message me about it and we can fit you into one of the groups. And also, there's just, it's pretty much just, if you want to do anything as your character, like, maybe you guys want to go back and try finding your relatives that you guys were, like, tied to somehow, or anything you guys want to do, then we can do that. Like, like, Juan just told me Raoul wants to go back home, and so I said, okay, give me a week. I prepared something and we started doing the adventure. If Abalaba wants to go somewhere, just say Abalaba wants to go research whatever, and I'll be like, okay, give me however much time, we'll schedule a day and we can just do it. It's much shorter form, individual, like, adventures. If you want to specifically do something with someone else, like, hey, I want to go make some money, let's just do like a one shot of, let's just kill something, I'll come up with some hunting thing, you guys can go out and just do it. Like, it's meant to be way lower commitment, and way, like, smaller groups, so thus easier to schedule D&D.
Yeah, especially with college starting too now.
Yeah, and that's the idea. The idea is we're going to do the big Avengers-style team-ups maybe during the summers, but then during the school year, because it's not going to be super often. I mean, obviously, I'm in engineering. I'm not going to be able to do it super often. But
Yeah, bro.
I mean, it'll be like, hey, once in a while we can be like, hey, since it's like smaller groups, we can get more done in less time. We can just be like, hey, let's spend an hour. Like, Dave wants to go back to Ondair and like build up his noble house, and then Pedro, we could just sit down, hell, go out for some food, and just sit down and talk and be like, okay, you do this, I spend this gold, this whatever, and then it'll move the story forward and progress your characters with just way less commitment, way easier to schedule, and just we'll be able to play more D&D and get more done with less scheduling stress, because it's way easier for the two of us to be like, let's pick a day, than me going to the group chat and being like, okay, 5 of you motherfuckers need to find like a 3-hour time span.
Yeah.
So the one thing, I'll put this in discussion. The only thing is, to make my life easier, there's this small like adventure request sheet. It's something really slight, like 1 sentence or bullet point responses is all I need. It's essentially like, what do you, the character, like, copy the sheet and then send me the copy. And it's just like, what does your character want to do? So for instance, let's go along with the Dave thing. So Dave wants to return to Ondair and rebuild the Bushingham household. Okay, where do you want to go? Ondair. How do you plan on doing this? I don't know, spending money on getting servants and stuff like that. Okay, that's all I need. Who is involved? Like, are you inviting anybody else? Sure. El Simpiníto wants to go with as well. Okay. And then any other notes, like, I don't know, I want to throw a party or some shit. That's all I need. And then just give me a day, like, around when you could start, and then I'll get at it, and I'll start designing something, and we'll figure it out. So yeah, and I mean, because that's the thing, you guys could start, since we skipped all of this stuff, like, I mean, I'm real bummed I had to skip a whole, like, huge story arc, but I'd rather have you guys back and playing with us again. Yeah. So, I mean, if you guys are good to go, I mean, I'm probably going to make a big, like, Vanguard Campaign group chat, and then you guys can talk with the other guys and potentially be like, okay, Dave wants to join on, like, the little attack storyline. Because right now it's just Sonder and Ethel, which is fine. That'll work out. But, I mean, if I can get, like, a third, I can make it more the combat more interesting or whatever. Or, like, you know. I mean, just the more the merrier. But the point is scheduling first. Like, because, I mean, Eliza and Oliver live in the same house. They have the exact same schedule, pretty much. They have pretty much the same schedule. So, like, it would essentially... And then I live in the same house with them. So we are essentially one person. So if you guys... any of you wanted to join on that quick attack thing, just to get back with the group, then by all means, we're probably doing something like Monday, Tuesday. We don't even have a set date. It's going to be like a last minute... As soon as I'm done planning it, which should be sometime in the next day or two, we'll just say, when are you guys free? And we'll just pick a day, and then we'll just do it. So yeah, I mean, I'll make that group chat. Again, if you guys have any, like, individual story ideas you have, it's just that sheet. And yeah, I mean, I'm gonna make the group chat right now. But that's all I've got. If you guys have any questions or anything, I'm more than willing to answer. And yeah. I mean, if you want me to clarify any of the, like, quick stuff we brushed over. But if not, I mean, I'm kind of just going to be shooting the shit planning and going back to the Milkman Discord.
So is everybody that's... Is your third group in Eberron too?
No, my third group, they're on my personal campaign world.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Although they don't play very often. They've had 2 sessions. So, like, that's what it...
And this, anthology stuff is going to take place in Eberron, right?
Oh, yeah. And that's the thing. This also opens up the possibility, like, maybe, Pedro, you say, okay, Dave's gonna go on this. Because, I mean, I keep a good track of, like, time and stuff like that, like, the canon. So, like, Dave could be busy doing the attacks storyline, but if you also still wanted to join Ralroot on his thing, you could come up with a new character if you wanted to. Or hell, if you don't want to do if you want to do the Athedon thing, but not with Dave, we can make you a character. Like, the whole idea behind all of this is it's just way more open, way more fluid, like, do what we want kind of thing. Because, I mean, the idea is, Athedon's like Wakanda. They're not letting you guys walk around by yourselves in case you tell people the secret of Athedon. So, everyone who goes on any adventure by themselves is going to have, like, at least 2 guards. So if you guys wanted to be like, okay, I'm going to be Dave here, but then with Ralroot, I'm going to be like an Athedonian guard and make a cool Athedonian guard, then you can do that. Or if you wanted to be like, I don't know, I'm fucking Ralroot's cousin now. Like, make that character. Like, genuinely, I mean... yeah,
It's gonna become Juan's grandfather.
Yeah.
Imagine.
I mean, no, that's the thing. I mean, they'll tell you this when you guys talk with them again, but Ralroot's grandpa got resurrected and tethered to Ralroot.
Oh.
Oh, really?
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Just kind of stuck to him for now.
So, yeah. You guys have your tethers, and they have their tethers. Everyone's got tethered now.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. I mean, that's all I've got. Yep. Anything else? There's also that art, so if you guys haven't... The commission, if you have any notes on it...
Oh, dude. It looks so good. It literally does.
Oh my god, like...
insane.
Who's the person with the wings? The chick with the wings and the shield?
Ethel.
That's Ethel? Oh my
Yeah.
god.
Oh.
Like, the design in the wings is crazy.
Yeah, dude, they're big branch wings.
Honestly, the artist did a really good job with all the
Yeah, the artist popped off. It was insane.
for real.
Oh, once it comes back, like... Because that was just line art, dude. Once we get the full
Bro.
detail thing...
For
Holy
real.
shit.
It's gonna be insane, dude. Because, yeah, like, even just the line art itself was absolutely wild.
Dude, Thelgun's mask? Holy shit.
Oh, dude. It was crazy.
Yeah. But I mean, that's all we've got. So, I'm probably just gonna make that group chat real quick and I'll message you guys. But I mean, because like Ralroot just finished up a storyline. Exactly. So now is like the perfect time. If you want to do something specifically with someone else, hit him up, hit me up. Like, remember, the main thing is you guys are gonna have to be pretty active about it. Like, if you want to play, I mean, you're gonna need to try to get in on a little adventure or just do your own little adventure.
Yeah.
So I mean, yeah, I mean that's all we've got. So yeah, I mean, I'll stop taking up your time saying the same thing over and over again, but yeah, I mean that's all. Cool. I'll also send this to Matt, so he can see all this.
Oh, yeah. And if you want, I can even like tell him too.
Yeah, I'm about to make that
Yeah.
group chat anyway. So
Gotcha.
here, I'll stop this recording.